What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Buzz. Dana White just revealed one of the wildest behind-the-scenes stories in years. Speaking on Andrew Schultz's podcast, he claimed that former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou once confronted him physically during a meeting at the UFC offices. According to Dana, the tension began after Ngannou was furious about not receiving a $50,000 fight of the night bonus following his poor performance against Stipe Miocic in their first fight. Dana said the discussion escalated quickly. As he attempted to end the meeting and leave, Ngannou allegedly grabbed him by the shirt and pushed him back into the office. Dana recalled telling him, "Dude, get your hands off me," insisting there was no misunderstanding or language barrier. Ngannou simply crossed the line. Backing up the atmosphere around Ngannou at the time, MMA reporter Anthony Evans shared his own experiences from when he worked at the UFC. He said Ngannou would often show up at the offices unannounced, pacing around and standing over employees' desks, making people uncomfortable. While some of that behavior could be linked to cultural differences and English being his third language, Evans claimed Ngannou regularly went too far, even hovering over designers and aggressively telling them what to do. Dana summed it up bluntly: Ngannou wasn't the nice guy he portrayed. The incident, along with similar reports, highlighted a side of Francis that many fans never saw, one that Dana believes was intentionally hidden behind the idea of a language barrier. Before moving on to the next news, we have a quick request for you. We're always working to improve our content and truly value your support. If you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon, it would mean a lot to us. That way, you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Francis Ngannou has finally responded to Dana White's allegations, offering a completely different version of events from what has been circulating online. According to Ngannou, the real problems began long before his first fight with Stipe Miocic, when the UFC started delaying his contract negotiations. The long pause left him inactive for months, with no income, eventually putting him in a financially unstable position, where he couldn't even afford to fund his own training camp. Ngannou says that during this period, he personally called Dana White and asked for an advance on his fight purse so he could prepare properly. He insists that this phone call was the only direct confrontation he ever had with Dana. Addressing the story about a physical altercation in Dana's office, Francis said the tension never came from an explosive argument but from years of slow, frustrating contract negotiations that strained their relationship. He emphasized that the delays and uncertainty created anger on both sides, but nothing like the dramatic scenario being described publicly. The MMA community remains split. Some fans believe Dana's version, citing earlier media reports portraying Ngannou as intimidating or overly aggressive around UFC offices. Others believe Francis, arguing that contract disputes and miscommunication better explain the situation. Ngannou further clarified that his relationship with the UFC changed after his first fight with Stipe. He said that even before that matchup was officially announced, he had to ask the organization for financial help just to afford his training camp. Despite having no money, he continued training for nearly a year. Francis stated that he has always lived within his means and never enjoyed the luxury people assumed he had. After returning and winning multiple fights, the UFC initially approached him with what he believed would be a new contract. But when his team arrived for negotiations, they were suddenly told there would be no new deal and that he still had 3 fights remaining on his existing contract. Ngannou admitted he was fine with that because he simply wanted to finish the deal and move on. Move on to another news. Garry has once again shaken up the MMA world, this time by directly calling out new welterweight champion Islam Makhachev. In a recent interview, Garry said he noticed clear weaknesses in Islam's striking during UFC 322. While he acknowledged that Makhachev looked clean, composed, and technically sharp against Jack Della Maddalena, he insisted that a closer look reveals striking gaps he is confident he can exploit. Garry then leaned fully into his villain persona, reacting to Leon Edwards' knockout loss by calling it his Christmas present, even joking that he should call Shavkat Rakhmonov and thank him for the gift. Building on the momentum, Garry declared he wants Dagestan versus Ireland, Chapter 3, pointing to the past matchups of Khabib versus Conor. According to him, the only way to avenge his country is by taking Islam's belt. He believes wholeheartedly that he has the tools to dethrone Makhachev. Garry admitted the fight wouldn't be easy, but said he's already visualizing the moment he breaks Islam's win streak and brings the title back to Ireland. For Garry, defeating Makhachev would be the biggest achievement of his career. Speaking on Islam's last performance, Garry praised the champion's improvements. He looked far cleaner on the feet, and his calmness and composure were alike. But he doubled down on his claim that there are still noticeable holes in Makhachev's striking, holes he intends to exploit. Garry also acknowledged Islam's strengths, calling him the best in the world when he grabs a leg. He praised Makhachev's wrestling as technically beautiful, intelligent, disciplined, and dangerous in submission positions. However, Garry said none of that intimidates him. He emphasized his own strengths: his high fight IQ, elite striking, elusiveness, height, reach, and perfect record against southpaws. Garry argued that Islam will struggle to catch him because he is taller, longer, and significantly faster than anyone Makhachev has fought. He ended by saying that even if Islam brings in bantamweights to mimic speed in training, none will match Garry's pace. Makhachev is now preparing for his upcoming fight against Belal Muhammad at UFC Qatar, but Garry is already campaigning hard for his shot. Move on to another news. We're just days away from a major lightweight showdown in Qatar where Arman Tsarukyan and Dan Hooker will meet in a high-stakes title eliminator for a shot at Ilia Topuria's belt. With Topuria already confirmed to attend the event to corner his brother Alexander, the tension surrounding this fight has escalated even further. In his latest interview, Tsarukyan issued a clear warning to both Hooker and Topuria. He said Hooker has never crossed any personal lines, and as long as things stay strictly professional, it remains all business. But Arman made one thing very clear: anyone who brings his personal life or family into the trash talk will be dealt with face-to-face, away from cameras and crowds. Calling him a spoiled kid doesn't bother him, but crossing that deeper personal line won't end well for either Hooker or Topuria. The winner between Tsarukyan and Hooker is expected to be next in line for the lightweight title. However, the situation becomes complicated depending on what Topuria decides next. If he defeats fighters like Giga or Paddy before a potential defense and then chooses to move up to welterweight, the entire division could shift dramatically, leaving the next title shot wide open. Tsarukyan also commented on Islam Makhachev's dominant performance against Jack Della Maddalena. He admitted the fight was risky for him because he has everything to lose, while Hooker has far less pressure. Losing to the #1 contender wouldn't damage Hooker's standing, but a loss for Arman would push him several steps back in the rankings, which is why he's more motivated than ever. Regarding Islam's win, Tsarukyan said he was shocked by how easily Makhachev handled Maddalena, calling it proof of the champion's elite level. He believes Islam is in his prime and operating at a higher level than the rest of the division, and right now, he doesn't see who can realistically stop him, even at 170 pounds. Move on to another news. Khamzat Chimaev has made it clear that he's not interested in fighting Islam Makhachev, despite the growing conversation around Makhachev potentially moving up to middleweight after his dominant win over Jack Della Maddalena this past Saturday. With many fans discussing the possibility of Islam chasing triple champ status, attention naturally shifted to the middleweight champion, Chimaev, but his response suggests he has no intention of facing Makhachev. Chimaev shared a message on Instagram that caught everyone's attention. He wrote, "The wolf and the eagle are not always close, but when you need to protect the mountains, they will always protect them together." For those unfamiliar, the eagle refers to Khabib Nurmagomedov and his team, while the wolf is a nickname associated with Chimaev himself. His message is symbolic, implying that he views Islam as a brother rather than an opponent, and that their unity is more important than chasing a super fight. By posting this, Chimaev is essentially saying he wants to follow the path of fighters like Kamaru Usman and Francis Ngannou, who dominated their divisions while representing their continent with pride rather than fighting friends or close allies. His focus appears to be on legacy within his own weight class, not on clashing with teammates or culturally connected fighters just to entertain the audience. As discussions continue about Makhachev's future, whether he remains at lightweight, moves to welterweight, or even considers middleweight, Chimaev's statement puts an early stop to any hope of seeing the two champions face each other. For now, Chimaev is dedicated to defending his position at middleweight, and Makhachev seems focused on continuing his dominance wherever he competes next. Move on to another news. Sean O'Malley recently shared his thoughts on Khamzat Chimaev, saying he believes Chimaev is essentially a bigger, more physically imposing version of Islam Makhachev. During a podcast conversation, O'Malley explained that both fighters share a similar style: dominant grappling, suffocating pressure, and a strong understanding of positional control. The difference, according to him, is size. Chimaev's natural strength and frame make him a heavier, more powerful version of what Makhachev brings to the lightweight division. O'Malley said he would love to see the two compete in a grappling match rather than an MMA fight, simply because it would highlight their technical similarities. He noted that Makhachev is smart enough to understand that moving to middleweight would be extremely difficult, even for someone as dominant as him. Although Islam's skill set could allow him to beat many fighters at 185 pounds, O'Malley pointed out that facing someone like Chimaev, who matches his style but adds significant size, would be a completely different challenge. He added that watching Chimaev and Makhachev roll on the mats would be entertaining for fans and a fascinating test of technique versus strength within the same fighting system. O'Malley believes the matchup would showcase two elite grapplers at the top of their craft, and the EMA community has already begun reacting to the idea with excitement and speculation. Move on to another news. Footage has surfaced showing Justin Gaethje appearing drunk and visibly irritated during a conversation with a fan on a golf course. In the clip, Gaethje is seen casually chatting when the topic turns to UFC fighters. The fan mentions that his favorite fighter of all time is Conor McGregor, and Gaethje immediately reacts with frustration, criticizing McGregor and questioning why the fan doesn't support an American fighter instead. Gaethje then launches into a brief explanation, saying that McGregor never agreed to fight him despite opportunities being available. He insists he had earned the matchup and claims he knocked on that door, but McGregor chose not to step in. Gaethje also clarifies that, although he has strong feelings about McGregor avoiding a fight with him, he still respects McGregor's accomplishments in the sport. He goes on to acknowledge that McGregor has achieved astronomical success and did things inside the cage that very few fighters could replicate. Gaethje admits that McGregor's early career run was special, calling him an exceptional fighter during his prime years when he was broke and hungry. He emphasizes that McGregor's historic achievements deserve credit, even if he personally believes the Irish star has declined. The clip captures a raw, unfiltered moment from Gaethje, showing both his competitive frustration and his unwillingness to disregard McGregor's impact on MMA. The footage has quickly circulated online, sparking discussion among fans about Gaethje's comments, his emotional tone, and the continued rivalry between McGregor and top contenders. Move on to another news. The MMA community erupted in frustration after the latest lightweight rankings update revealed that Paddy Pimblett had climbed into the top 5, despite not fighting since April. At UFC 314, Pimblett defeated Michael Chandler by a third-round TKO, which moved him from No. 12 to No. 8 minor. But with no activity since that win, his sudden rise to No. 5 has triggered widespread criticism. Fans and analysts took to social media questioning how Pimblett continues moving up the ladder without stepping into the octagon. Many pointed out the inconsistency, joking that he might reach the number 1 spot without another fight. Others highlighted that several divisions saw questionable adjustments, adding fuel to ongoing complaints about the ranking system. Some suggested that the UFC may be positioning Paddy for a potential fight with Ilia Topuria, with comments claiming the promotion is rushing him into high-profile matchups similar to Darren Till's fast rise, and warning that it could end the same way. Critics argued that such ranking boosts don't reflect merit, asking how Pimblett keeps getting away with this, while more active contenders remain stagnant. Overall, the update sparked debate once again about transparency, fairness, and whether promotional push is influencing rankings more than actual competition. Move on to another news. Paddy Pimblett responded strongly to Justin Gaethje's recent calls for a title shot, making it clear that nobody is owed a championship opportunity and that fights must be earned. Gaethje, who defeated Rafael Fiziev at UFC 313 by unanimous decision, has been publicly demanding a title shot and even hinted at retirement if it isn't granted. Pimblett, however, disagrees with the notion that a fighter can simply demand such an opportunity. Speaking about Gaethje, Pimblett acknowledged his accomplishments, calling him a legend who has done a lot for the sport, but criticized his recent interviews where he implied that the UFC owes him a title fight. "No one is holding anything back. You fight for it," Pimblett said. He emphasized that his own last victory was over a higher-ranked opponent, and in more convincing fashion than Gaethje's, underscoring that results inside the cage are what truly determine opportunities. Pimblett also discussed the storyline surrounding Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria, noting that the UFC has already built a narrative for upcoming lightweight championship fights. While he personally would prefer that Oliveira hadn't become a two-division champion, he admitted that Oliveira holding the belt actually benefits the existing storyline and sets up his own path in the division. Pimblett expressed some frustration over why his next title fight hasn't been formally announced or officially contracted, but remained confident that everything will be sorted in the coming weeks. In summary, Pimblett's comments make it clear that he believes championship shots are earned through performance, rankings, and established storylines rather than being demanded. He showed respect for Gaethje's legacy while also defending his own accomplishments and the integrity of the lightweight division's upcoming matchups. Fans can expect clarity on these fights soon as the UFC continues to finalize plans and promotional narratives.